Admiral Victoria Harrison stood at the observation deck of the Terran embassy on Centauri Prime, watching the endless stream of alien vessels crossing the star-filled sky. Each ship represented a different species, a different civilization that had found its place in the Grand Galactic Council. Today, humanity's place among them would be decided. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed a woman hardened by decades of service, silver streaks in her dark hair, and determination etched into every line of her face. The formal diplomatic uniform felt stiff and uncomfortable, but today's appearance before the council demanded perfect protocol. "Admiral," a voice called from behind. "They're ready for us." Harrison turned to face her diplomatic attaché, Thomas Reeves, a young man whose usual cheerful demeanor had been replaced by grim determination. "How many representatives showed up?" "All of them," Reeves replied, his voice tight. "All 417 species sent their high counselors. This is the largest gathering in council history." Harrison's jaw tightened. They weren't gathering to welcome humanity. They were coming to witness an execution. The walk to the council chambers took 15 minutes through crystalline corridors that sparkled with embedded light. Other species moved aside as they passed, their expressions ranging from pity to poorly concealed satisfaction. The humans had risen too fast, pushed too hard, and now they would pay the price. The council chamber itself was a marvel of architecture, a vast dome of transparent aluminum that revealed the swirling nebula beyond. Tier upon tier of seats rose into the darkness, each occupied by a being that had voted on humanity's fate. At the center stood a single platform, waiting for Earth's representatives. High Chancellor Ixel, a towering figure with iridescent scales and 6 eyes, raised all 4 hands for silence as Harrison and Reeves took their position. The chamber's perfect acoustics carried his voice to every corner. "Representatives of Earth," he began, his translator converting his harmonic speech into standard galactic. "You stand before this council to hear our judgment regarding humanity's violations of galactic law." Harrison stood straight, her hands clasped behind her back. She had anticipated this moment since humanity first discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Their rapid expansion, their quick mastery of alien technologies, their refusal to slow down and wait their turn, it had all led to this. "The evidence has been reviewed," Ixel continued. "In mere decades, humanity has established colonies on 37 worlds. You have developed military technologies at an unprecedented rate. Your economic expansion threatens the stability of 3 sectors. Your cultural influence spreads like a virus, encouraging other species to question traditions that have maintained peace for millennia." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Harrison noticed several of the older species, the ones who had helped write the original council laws, nodding in satisfaction. "Therefore, by unanimous decision of the senior council, the following restrictions are hereby imposed. All human colonies beyond your solar system will be evacuated. Your fleet will be reduced to 1/10 its current size. Earth will accept council monitors at all major military and research facilities. Any violation of these terms will result in the complete quarantine of your species." Harrison felt Reeves stiffen beside her. The terms were worse than their worst projections. It wasn't regulation, it was imprisonment. "Chancellor," Harrison spoke, her voice clear and strong. "Earth rejects these terms." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. No species had ever directly rejected a council judgment in over 10,000 years. "You do not have the option to reject," Ixel stated, his scales flickering with irritation. "This is not a negotiation." Harrison took 1 step forward. "You're right, Chancellor. This isn't a negotiation. This is a mistake. Humanity didn't come to the stars to ask permission. We came to take our place among them. If you try to cage us, you will learn why our history is filled with stories of people breaking their chains." "Is that a threat, Admiral Harrison?" Ixel's voice carried a dangerous edge. "No, Chancellor. It's a history lesson. Every empire that tried to contain humanity's growth has fallen. Every power that attempted to limit our potential has failed. We emerged stronger each time. She looked up, meeting the gaze of each council member in turn. You see our rapid progress as a threat. We see it as our natural state. You fear our military development. You should. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. You worry about our influence on other species. That's because we remember being alone in the dark, and we refuse to let others suffer the same. Remove the Earth representatives, Ixel commanded. As guards moved forward, Harrison delivered her final words. You think you're protecting galactic stability. Instead, you're about to discover why every force that tried to contain humanity only succeeded in teaching us new ways to fight back. The guards escorted them out, but Harrison walked with her head high. As the chamber doors closed behind them, Reeves whispered, "What now, Admiral?" Harrison's lips curved in a slight smile. "Now, Mr. Reeves, we show them why you should never corner a species that turns survival into an art form. Send the signal. Operation Phoenix begins today." Throughout human space, hidden servers activated. Secret facilities powered up. And in laboratories buried deep beneath the surfaces of 37 worlds, scientists who had anticipated this day began their work. The Council thought they were imposing restrictions. Instead, they had just initiated humanity's greatest leap forward. The game was about to change, and the galaxy would never be the same. The underground facility beneath the Himalayas hummed with activity that no Council sensor could detect. Director Rachel Blackwood stood before a holographic display showing hundreds of secret research sites scattered across Earth and its colonies. Each location pulsed with a steady green light, confirming their continued invisibility to Council monitoring. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had spent the last 5 years preparing for this moment. Dr. William Foster, head of Project Shadowtech, stepped forward. His weathered face reflected the countless sleepless nights spent developing humanity's answer to Council superiority. "The quantum phase generators are exceeding expectations. We've achieved complete sensor invisibility across all known Council detection spectrums." "Show me," Rachel demanded. Foster gestured, and the central testing chamber illuminated. A massive warship, nearly half a kilometer long, sat within the cavern. Then, with a subtle ripple of air, it vanished. Not just to visual sensors. Every reading device in the facility registered empty space. The Council's fundamental mistake, Foster explained, was assuming we would follow their technological path. Instead, we looked for what they considered impossible. They manipulate quantum fields. We learned to step outside them entirely. Rachel walked through the space where the ship should be, feeling nothing but air. And the power requirements. "That's the beautiful part," Foster smiled. Zero-point energy extraction. Another technology they dismissed as impossible. We're not just invisible. We're infinite. Across the chamber, Lieutenant Isabella Rodriguez supervised the training of what appeared to be ordinary civilians. But these weren't regular people. They were the first generation of quantum-shifted operators, soldiers who could literally walk through Council barriers. Again, Rodriguez barked as her team phased through solid matter, their bodies temporarily existing in a state that Council science claimed was theoretical. "Faster. The Council thinks they understand quantum mechanics. Show them what humans can do when we stop playing by their rules." The training facility's walls were lined with weapons that didn't exist according to galactic physics, rifles that fired shots that materialized inside targets, shields that didn't deflect energy, but rather redirected it into parallel space, and communication devices that operated outside normal spacetime. In orbit above Mars, hidden shipyards worked at full capacity. Admiral Harrison's flagship, the Phoenix, was nearing completion. Unlike the bulky, visible vessels that the Council monitored, these ships were elegant shadows, designed not to fight Council technology, but to ignore it completely. Captain David Chen walked through the Phoenix's bridge, marveling at how human innovation had leapfrogged centuries of Council doctrine. "All systems are quantum-shifted and ready," he reported to Harrison via their untraceable communications. The Council's barrier technology might as well be tissue paper. Harrison's voice carried satisfaction. How many ships can we field? 300 capital ships, all equipped with Foster's quantum drive system. 2,000 support vessels, and that's just from the Mars facility. The Europa and Titan yards report similar numbers. The Council's spies watched Earth's visible shipyards wind down production, observed as humanity seemingly accepted their restrictions. They never noticed the real work happening in dimensions their sensors couldn't perceive. Deep within Ganymede's ice crust, Dr. Foster's team made another breakthrough. Director Blackwood, he called excitedly, "We've done it. Complete molecular reconstruction at a quantum level. We can now rebuild any Council technology and improve it while keeping it invisible to their detection methods." Rachel watched as a captured Council security device disassembled itself and reformed into something far more advanced. Can they trace it? They can't even prove it exists, Foster grinned. We're not just catching up to their technology anymore. We're surpassing it. Meanwhile, in detention centers across Council space, imprisoned human colonists played their part perfectly. They acted defeated, broken, while secretly preparing for liberation. Each game of cards was a coded training session. Every shared meal included memorized facility layouts. The guards never realized their prisoners were actually their jailers, gathering intelligence and preparing for the moment humanity would show its true capabilities. Lieutenant Rodriguez's quantum operators practiced insertion techniques in a mock-up of a Council facility. They moved through walls, disabled security systems that couldn't detect them, and prepared for a coordination that would shake the galaxy's power structure to its core. Remember, she told her teams, the Council thinks they understand human psychology. They expect resistance, rebellion, obvious attacks. They'll never expect us to simply step outside their universal laws. Back in the Himalayan facility, Rachel reviewed the final preparations with her command staff. The holographic display showed thousands of quantum-shifted assets ready for deployment. Status of Operation Phoenix. All ships are in position, Captain Chen reported. The Council's barrier network doesn't even know they exist. Quantum operators are ready, Rodriguez added. We can insert into every major Council facility simultaneously. Foster's improvements to Council tech are implemented across all platforms, another officer confirmed. The moment we reveal ourselves, their technological advantage disappears. Rachel allowed herself a small smile. The Council thought they were dealing with primitives who needed to be contained. Instead, they'd pushed us to evolve beyond their comprehension. Humanity didn't just develop new technology. We rewrote the laws of physics. She turned to the assembled staff, each person representing thousands more working in secret across human space. In 48 hours, we show the galaxy why you should never back humans into a corner. We don't just break out. We transcend. The quantum network hummed with activity as final preparations were made. Humanity had spent 5 years appearing to submit, while actually preparing to rewrite the rules of existence itself. The Council was about to learn that their greatest mistake wasn't trying to contain humanity. It was giving them the motivation to prove just how limitless human potential could be. The void between Jupiter's moons rippled as Admiral Harrison's quantum-shifted fleet moved into final position. The Phoenix, her flagship, represented everything the Council believed impossible, a vessel that existed partially outside normal spacetime, untouchable by conventional weapons or detection systems. All battle groups report ready, Captain Daniel Pierce announced from his tactical station. The holographic display showed over 500 ships, each a masterpiece of human ingenuity, arranged in attack formations that would have been suicide in normal space. Harrison stood at the center of her command deck, watching as the final pieces fell into place. Status of Council monitoring stations. Still blind, Lieutenant Priya Patel replied from communications. Their sensors show exactly what we want them to see, a defeated humanity quietly accepting their chains. Below deck, in the Phoenix's engineering heart, Dr. Foster supervised the final calibration of the quantum phase generators. These weren't just engines, they were humanity's declaration of independence from the laws of physics themselves. Power fluctuation in Grid 7, one of his engineers called out. Foster moved to the console, his fingers dancing across the controls. Compensate with the zero-point extractors. Remember, we're not trying to overcome Council technology. We're operating in a realm they don't even believe exists. In detention centers across Council space, imprisoned human colonists received the signal they'd waited years to see, hidden in seemingly innocent messages from home, transmitted through official channels, were the activation codes for Operation Phoenix. Maria Vasquez, officially listed as a simple agricultural specialist in Detention Center 17, gathered her resistance cell. They had spent their imprisonment memorizing every detail of the facility's layout, every guard rotation, every security measure. Tonight, she whispered to her people, we show them what humanity does in the dark. Across human space, ships that had been hiding in quantum shift began moving into attack positions. They passed through Council barriers as if they were missed, their improved drives operating on principles that Council science considered theoretical. On the Phoenix's bridge, Harrison received the final confirmation signals. Every ship, every operative, every piece of their hidden technology was in place. 5 years of preparation, of appearing broken while actually transcending, had led to this moment. Send the signal to all commanding officers, she ordered. Operation Phoenix commences in 6 hours. Throughout the fleet, commanders briefed their crews. These weren't just soldiers, they were pioneers of a new age of human advancement. Each ship carried weapons that could bypass Council shields completely, communication systems that couldn't be intercepted, and defensive technology that made them practically invulnerable to conventional attacks. In her quarters, Harrison reviewed the final operation plans. The Council's response would be predictable. They would try to contain the situation using the same technological approaches they'd relied on for millennia. They couldn't comprehend that humanity had simply stepped outside their framework entirely. Admiral, Pierce called over the comm. Director Blackwood requests a final consultation. Rachel's hologram appeared in Harrison's quarters, her expression determined. All ground teams are in position. Foster's quantum operators can breach every major Council facility simultaneously. The moment we begin, their entire power structure becomes vulnerable. And our colonists? Ready and waiting. The Council thinks they're guarding defeated prisoners. They're actually sitting on powder kegs, and we're about to light the fuse. Harrison nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. The Council made 3 critical mistakes, she mused. They assumed we would follow their technological path. They thought they could contain our growth. And most importantly, they gave us time to prove them wrong on both counts. In Detention Center 17, Maria watched the facility's guards make their normal rounds. They never noticed how their prisoners had subtly altered their own security systems over years of careful manipulation. When the time came, those same systems would work for the humans, not against them. Any unusual activity? Harrison asked Pierce as the hours counted down. Nothing. Council monitoring stations report normal conditions across human space. Their barrier network shows no anomalies. As far as they're concerned, we're exactly where they left us, contained and controlled. Foster's voice came through the quantum comm network, untraceable and instant across any distance. Final system checks complete, Admiral. Every ship in the fleet can shift between normal space and quantum state at will. We're not just invisible, we're intangible when we need to be. Harrison allowed herself a small smile. In trying to cage humanity, the Council had forced them to evolve beyond physical limitations. Their ships didn't need to break through barriers. They simply existed in a state where those barriers meant nothing. Send the final countdown to all commanders, Harrison ordered. In 6 hours, we show the galaxy why humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our absolute refusal to accept limitations. Throughout human space, quantum-shifted ships moved into their final positions. In detention centers, Resistance cells made their last preparations. In hidden facilities across Earth and its colonies, new technology hummed with power that Council science claimed couldn't exist. The Council thought they had contained a primitive species that needed to be controlled. Instead, they had created something unprecedented, a humanity that had transcended the very laws of physics in their drive to be free. As the final hours ticked down, Harrison looked out at her invisible fleet. Soon, the Council would learn that their greatest mistake wasn't trying to cage humanity. It was assuming that any cage could hold a species that had turned impossibility into a challenge to be overcome. The revolution wouldn't just break chains, it would rewrite the very nature of what was possible. Breaking chains. The attack began with silence. Across Council space, quantum-shifted ships simply appeared inside defensive perimeters. Before any alarms could sound, Lieutenant Rodriguez's operators were already inside the facilities, moving through walls as if they were air. In Detention Center 17, Maria Vasquez watched her chronometer tick down. 3, 2, 1. Every light in the facility went dark. When they came back on, the guards found themselves facing prisoners who were no longer where they should be. The humans had spent years memorizing exactly where to stand when this moment came. Facility secured, Maria reported through a quantum comm that appeared in her hand. All personnel contained, no casualties. Similar reports flooded in from across Council space. 50 detention centers neutralized in under 5 minutes. No alarms, no weapons fired, no chance to respond. On the Phoenix's bridge, Admiral Harrison watched the operation unfold. Phase 2, she ordered. The quantum-shifted fleet revealed itself in perfect synchronization. Council sensors suddenly detected thousands of ships where there had been empty space. But these weren't the crude vessels they'd been monitoring for years. These ships rippled with technology that shouldn't exist. High Chancellor Ixel was awakened by panicked aides. Impossible, he declared, staring at reports of humans appearing inside their most secure facilities. Their ships can't be there. The barriers. The barriers are irrelevant. Harrison's hologram appeared in the Council chamber, walking through their security fields as if they didn't exist. We don't break through barriers anymore, Chancellor. We simply step around them. New dawn. The Council chamber had never been so silent. Representatives from 400 species watched as Admiral Harrison and Director Blackwood materialized in their midst, their forms slightly out of phase with normal reality. Let us be clear, Harrison announced. We could have used this technology for revenge. Instead, we're here to establish new terms. Dr. Foster appeared next to them, holding what looked like a simple black cube. Your civilization is built on manipulating quantum fields, he explained. We learn to exist outside them. Every piece of technology you possess can be bypassed, improved, or rendered obsolete. What do you want? Ixel demanded, his scales pale with fear. Partnership, Rachel answered. Real partnership, not dominance, not submission. Humanity doesn't seek to rule. We seek to advance. Together. The cube in Foster's hands pulsed, and suddenly every piece of Council technology in the chamber began operating at levels they had thought impossible. This is what happens when you stop containing species and start collaborating with them, he said. Harrison stepped forward. The old Council dies today. In its place, we propose a true federation of equals. No more artificial restrictions, no more suppressed advancement. Every species free to develop at their own pace. And if we refuse, someone called out, we don't need your permission anymore. Harrison replied calmly, but we'd rather have your cooperation. Humanity has learned we can transcend any barrier, physical or political. The question is, will you transcend with us? Throughout Council space, the quantum-shifted fleet hung in perfect formation, not as a threat, but as a demonstration. Inside every major facility, human operators stood ready, proving that no defense was absolute. The choice is yours, Rachel concluded. Continue trying to cage the inevitable, or join us in making the impossible routine. Humanity didn't overcome your restrictions just to impose our own. We did it to prove that limits only exist until someone decides to move beyond them. One by one, council members began to signal their agreement. They had tried to contain humanity, and instead had forced them to achieve something unprecedented: transcendence beyond physical laws themselves. The galaxy would never be the same. But as Harrison looked out at the assembled representatives, she saw something replacing their fear: hope. Hope that in forcing humanity to transcend barriers, the Council had accidentally created exactly what the galaxy needed: a species that refused to accept impossible as an answer. "Welcome," she said, "to the new age of possibility." In detention centers across Council space, gates opened. On countless worlds, humans and aliens began working together openly, sharing knowledge that had been suppressed for millennia. The quantum-shifted fleet took up protective positions, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new era. Humanity had been pushed into a corner, and in response, they hadn't just broken free. They had rewritten the rules of reality itself. As Harrison watched the new Federation take its first steps, she realized that the Council's greatest mistake hadn't been trying to contain humanity. Their greatest mistake had been teaching humanity exactly how far they could go when someone told them something was impossible. The end.